today for part 3 of webinar and Ask the Expert session, Cash is King, but Marketing is Everything, presented by Peter M. Vessenes. With over 30 years experience in the financial industry, Peter is the CEO and founder of ProfitSee Incorporated, a financial software service for financial professionals, CPAs, and pro advisors. ProfitSee is an all-in-one financial analysis and budgeting software from seasoned financial experts. ProfitSee helps business owners and financial advisors alike gain powerful insights to manage cash flow, grow profitability, and increase valuation. Immediately following today's webinar, log into iShade.com and click on the Ask the Expert tab. There you'll see Peter's Cash is King listing, where you can type in your questions from 3 o'clock to 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peter, thank you for joining us today. This is where I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. Wonderful to be with everyone again. We have one more part to this. Next month we're going to wrap up all the elements in marketing. And again, the whole concept is cash is king, cash is important, but marketing really is everything in terms of how your practice can start to gain value and grow and get stability. So I always try to open this up with really helping to understand the trade. And therefore, what is really the definition of capitalism? It's a question I've asked a lot of people nationally, and it's amazing how few people can define something they say they believe in. But to me, capitalism is pretty straightforward. It's a system of barter, of trading, in which all the trading partners believe they receive equal or greater value for what they give up in the trade. And I found that this is instinctive. It's not a theory. We've started trading when we were little. I used to trade baseball cards. There's all types of things that are involved in the trade, and it's very, very important to understand that because it's instinctive, people remember good trades with good value, but they never forget bad trades or bad experiences. So based on that, we're going to talk in the context of why marketing really is the most defining moment of your practice. Today we're going to talk about branding. Now, branding is kind of what builds belief. When you think of a brand, again, I like the auto industry. I used to research it analytically when I was working with multinationals. Since it was such a huge employment sector in the U.S., I used to think of Cadillac, the standard of the world. Well, how did they get that? It was a brand ID because they were the first auto manufacturer that basically built their cars with interchangeable parts, as opposed to custom coaching. So that's how they became, quote, the standard of the world. It's a brand ID that's been there forever. And I think it's one of the lines that General Motors has built that has not suffered through some of the bad experiences, other than the same one, that General Motors has unfortunately lived through. So the impact of a brand is profound because when you think of a brand, you go, okay, do I trust that brand? Am I comfortable with the brand? We've lived in our home up here in Minneapolis. It'll be 14 years in January. And, well, okay, what's the big deal? Well, the big deal is that the appliances are starting to get repaired, right? So I researched when we were replacing the dishwasher and the range top and the refrigerator, and I tried to stick with brands and high reviews and so on and so forth. But a couple of years ago, I had to replace the dishwasher, and I got what was considered a really top-line dishwasher. And it's been nothing but problems. The original computer system in it broke down after I'd had it there less than 3 weeks. They came out and swapped it out. They apologized. That was fine. Then one of the pull-out trays broke down. They came out and replaced the parts. That's fine. It's 4 years old, and guess what? The pull-out tray broke down again. So I had them come out, but they were going to ship the parts. Well, what I found was when the parts came in, the parts were actually manufactured by a different prominent brand. In other words, they were made by Whirlpool, but they were going into supposedly this big international brand that I thought was so good. So the impact of a brand is important. It's kind of turned me off to that particular brand that I selected because I thought, so you're basically jobbing out the manufacturing of your product. The impact of a brand is very important. For those of you who are into automobiles, some are Ford people, some are Chevy people. The same thing is true of any business. A business has a brand. So really, what are the things that help create a brand? And how does it create a belief about your brand? Well, the client experience is probably the most important thing. In other words, what do clients interact with when they call you up? Do they get a live person that will help them? Or do they get a telephone electronic routing machine that says, we are open from, if you'd like directions, press 1. If you know the extension you're going to, press 2. If you know the extension of the party, press pound in the extension. You punch 0 if nothing else works, and you might get a live person or not. All of those things have an impact in the client experience. When your clients come to visit you, which of course is coming up now, tax season, a very big time where the consumers are in there with you trying to work on their tax experiences, what is that like? Is it easy to schedule? Is the time allocated? Are you connecting in a way that helps the client feel really, really important? All of these things build into an identification on the brand. So when do you build a brand? When is the time to build a brand? We're going to talk about that a little bit today, but unfortunately, brands spring to life by themselves if you haven't defined them and gone about creating them. So like it or not, you do have a brand. If your clients call you and you don't follow up with them to let them know that you at least got the call or the email, that creates a brand ID. If your clients call you and want to meet with you, but you're not available for 3 weeks, that creates a brand. All of these elements, they call you, you could take the call briefly for a minute, great, let's reorganize, let's meet, let's connect. All of those things create a brand identification. So it's very important to realize that you're building the brand every time you have an interaction with anybody in your marketplace. But is it the brand that you want? And do you really understand what you're building in a brand? So what's involved in building the brand? Well, I really think it starts with the mission, vision, value statement. And again, if you go back and listen to the recording of the whole idea of cash is king, but marketing is everything. I think I did this in section 1. The objective of your mission, vision, value statement is profound because it's basically saying what is it you're trying to accomplish, what is the results to your clients if you get to fulfill your purpose, and what values are attached to it. This is not just some sort of happy thing that you hang on the wall. It has to be something that everybody in the organization absolutely believes in. So, for example, one of the things we've done in ProfitSee to try and establish our brand ID is created our mission statement, which was our objective is to rebuild the global economy one small business at a time. And we do this by providing the kind of advanced tools that are used in multinationals through the people businesses trust with their finances, meaning accountants. So some of you know I was over in the United Kingdom because we've been pursued by the British government for literally opening offices there, which we're going to do. But while I was there, one of the things that was fascinating was the governmental side was very excited about having us there. And the reason was simple. They believed in our mission. They believed that we could actually improve the economic health of the SME marketplace in the United Kingdom, which will stabilize employment, will build up brand identification, and we will wind up making taxes for the government. So it becomes a very, very powerful impact on the people you wish to create strategy and tactic with. So mission, vision, value statement, you have to have that. The elevator statement. The elevator statement is a way of expressing who you are in a very, very short period of time. Somebody asks you, what do you do? And you're in an elevator. That's what the objective is. How does this take place? So the elevator statement, the purpose of the elevator statement is to say succinctly who you are and what you do. Somebody asked me, what do, right? What I do is I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I get to manage and run a company that is helping small and mid-sized businesses all around the world improve profitability, increase financial stability, raise their valuation, and create an incredible community relationship as they move through succession. It's very simple. It's a short statement, and if there's somebody that might have value to, they will know. The elevator statement. A compelling story. A compelling story is being able to take the combination of the mission, vision, value, and the elevator statement and say, this is how I will tell an experience that we've had with the company in such a way that it becomes compelling to find out what we're doing and how we work with them. So that's the compelling story. What's the tagline? Well, the tagline is simply the types of things that you see attached to a brand or attached to a logo that is a very, very short statement about what you're trying to do. So BMW's tagline is the ultimate driving machine. Okay? Those things, those taglines are very, very important because they create a subconscious reinforcement into your clients that help differentiate your practice. So the tagline builds it. Even the colors that you use, your logo, visual imagery, all those things contribute to what builds the brand ID. One of my favorites is General Electric. And whether I agree with the political leanings of the people running GE or not is really incidental, but I have seen that light bulb with a GE logo in it since I was a child in the 50s, and the idea that, you know, GE's tagline was, we bring good things to life. Frankly, the color and the logo and the visual imagery is done in such a way that it actually adds a sense of maturity, seniority, real stability, really what was a benchmark blue chip company. So all those things are important elements for you to build into your brand. SODARs. SODARs are the ways of telling a story, which is a situation, an opportunity, a decision, an action, and a result. So when you build a compelling story, make sure you do it with the SODAR. What was the situation your client was in? What did you see as the opportunity to help them? What decisions did you make to move ahead? What were the actions that took place, and what were the results? All of these elements are critical pieces of building your brand. So I've talked to a number of business owners over the years, both in the platform work I've done as well as in workshops we've conducted on top of what we used to do as a practicing advisory business. And I came to a lot of conclusions about what is not the brand. It's really important to determine what is not the brand. So the founder is not the brand. Founder might be the face or the spokesperson, whatever, but they are not the brand. The star of the organization, whether it's the founder or not, is not the brand. So, when you think about things like Progressive Insurance, the nice little lady in the white outfit, that's not the brand. She is the star image of the brand. If you call Progressive, you're really not going to get to talk to her. That's not the brand. Your advertising is not the brand. Advertising is you telling others how wonderful you are and why they should do business with you. Now, it's important to have that exposure. They might not know about you otherwise. But the advertising is not the brand. How about the website? A lot of people think their brand is reflected in the website. Now, websites have a lot of critical value. They have to be easy to negotiate. They have to have a number of elements in them that make a difference. But the website itself is not the brand. It's really, really important to build a website that people will want to come to, so it's not just static. There's reasons to return to it. It's really important to build it in a way that it's easy to negotiate and find out something about you. Hopefully you're building it in a way where they're gaining knowledge and insight and things that you're specializing in, events that you have happening so they come back, but it's not the brand. Pricing is not the brand. A lot of times I've seen some of the larger organizations, not the big four or the regionals, but some of the more elite practices, especially in major metros, where they pride themselves on how expensive they are to do business with. because, of course, they are worth it. They have that level of expertise. I don't mind that they have that level of expertise. And I'm quite sure for some of their clients, they do a phenomenal job of creating great tax advantage circumstances. But pricing is not a brand ID. Pricing is the value you're placing on the trade. Sales strategies, in other words, how you go about building your business, that's not the brand. It's very, very important to understand the difference between elements that absolutely appear in your practice. These are all elements that appear in your practice, that they're not the brand. The brand has to be clearly defined. So do I already have a brand? Yeah, like it or not, you do have a brand. It's defined by these elements. The client experience, we talked about that. The industry, what do you think? Do you think the accounting industry has a great brand ID? I tend to not think that we have a great brand ID. I tend to think that accountancy is kind of viewed as almost a necessary evil, or I owe how much, and all these statements that are general in people and in businesses, unless they're large businesses and they understand the role we play in the fiscal management of the practice. The industry itself does not come with a happy brand. Certain brands people get excited about, like Apple. I've never heard anybody say they were excited to be working with Deloitte Touche or KPMG. I heard them appreciative, but I haven't had that sense of excitement. The industry itself does not do a good job of identifying itself in a good way in brand. People's historical experience with you is a critical element of the brand. How many times does it take calling through to get to talk to someone? How frequently, if they want to talk to someone, do they actually do it in a relatively short period of time? How well do you explain what they're going through from a tax strategy situation and how to fix it and why it has to happen that way? People don't like surprises, and they don't want to find out, I owe what? Well, we're paying quarterlies. Why would we do that? You're right. That type of historical experience is defining a brand. Those are the things that have to be changed. When do beliefs happen? People formulate beliefs pretty quickly in an experience. If I'm meeting someone from an accounting firm and they're an introvert with no social skills but are an absolute genius at tax strategy, frankly, I don't care how good they are at the tax strategy at that moment. I have an initial set of beliefs that I don't feel really welcome here, or I don't feel really understood here, or I don't. Okay? Beliefs happen in very, very short blocks of time. And not only that, beliefs can be changed very quickly. You might have a wonderful belief, and then they encounter a bad spat of something. And most people give space, but if it becomes recurrent over a period of a tax season or a couple of weeks, you can shift someone's beliefs very, very quickly. All of these things are impacting the brand. Recurring experiences. In other words, I know that maybe we went through this for a number of years. Our taxes were never done on time. They were always going into extensions, both the personal and the business side. And I couldn't understand it because we would have all of our tax information pretty much done by the second week of December. And we just do the reconciliations at the end of the year, and we'd have them in our accountant's hands by the end of December, first week in January. And I'm sitting there going, so why am I always having the extensions? Recurring experiences create a brand experience. Now, if there's a legitimate reason for an extension, fine. But if it's, I didn't have time to get to your tax work, then that doesn't float real well with me, especially if that happens a couple years in a row. Recurring experiences create a brand ID. Do you fix stuff that went wrong? I have a tendency not to hide things that I'm unhappy with in a relationship. Now, I try to do it very diplomatically and graciously, and I want to make sure I'm talking to the right person. But if I do that and it didn't get fixed, then that's creating a brand experience. Keep in mind that if you had 20 people that had a bad experience, you probably have at most 2 or 3 that would say something about it. Sometimes you just have a recurring brand experience and nobody says anything about it. Somebody inside has to say, you know, senior partner, I don't think that went well, and we've got to get to the bottom of it. It's imperative that you fix anything that went wrong. And I don't mean wrong in terms of the quality of your services. I mean things that went wrong in the relationship with your clients. Those are the things that clearly define a brand, and most of the things I've talked about here don't create a pretty good one. So how do you recreate the brand? I mean, what does it really take to rebuild a brand? Well, the hardest part is facing the truth. If you are the exception in the accounting industry and you have a great brand, you have a great culture, you have great relationships with your business, God bless you. I have not seen that to be the most common experience. In fact, most accounting firms tend to be populated with people that tend to be a little more introverted and more analytical in nature. And so the idea of creating a brand is a non-factor. Of course, I have my clients. I have to have their taxes done. I do their audit. We work with. We have so on. So it's really important that you take a really honest look at what is really happening in the business, because it is defining your brand. And you have to face the truth about it. Now, if it's good, great, make it better. But if there's challenges in it, it's kind of like there might be the most phenomenal soup in the world, but if you see a fly in it, the fly doesn't represent 1/10 of 1% of what's in the soup, but you will not eat the soup, right? So face the truth within your own practice. You have to define the brand's experience. You have to put yourself in the shoes of your client and say, really, what do I expect my client to experience, go through in having a relationship with us? You have to step into their shoes. You have to look through their eyes. You have to say, what are they going through? And you say, do I have to do that with everyone? We have this one guy, you know, they're not. Well, okay, everybody has A clients, B clients, and C clients. I don't think it's worth carrying problem clients myself. I think the simplest solution, the ones that I just go against, is to sit down with them and say, you know, we've really appreciated working with you all these years, but I just get the sense we're probably not the right firm for you. Perhaps I can give you a referral to somebody else. And then I send my problem to one of my competitors. That might sound a little funny or maybe even twisted, but trust me, that problem client might be only 5% of the size of your practice, but they're creating 40% of the problems with your practice. It's really, really important that you define the brand experience from the client's perspective, and if there's some it won't work for, you just might have to help them find another accounting firm to work with. It's imperative that you define the brand experience. Once you define it, then do a hard look. Measure the company against it. Get feedback from everybody in the company. I remember when I first started studying total quality management, one of the underlying premises that I really bought into was that it was the people in the trenches that really understood what was going on in the real world. It wasn't management. It wasn't the executive team. It wasn't the supervisors. It literally was the people in the trenches. Now, one of the things I found in doing total quality management was when we went to interview people in the trenches, they had to feel safe to be able to tell us what was really going on, what might have been the cause of the problem, tracing it back to them, their own piece. Make sure that culturally that there is a pretty much open door policy, open conversation policy, and that you don't have big egos inside the upper echelons of the organization, so that the administrative help, the receptionists, all the people that have those grassroots touches can comment on how the company does against the brand experience. Then once you know what the measurement is, then you have to build the elements of the experience. What takes place on a telephone call? What takes place in a live and in-person meeting? What takes place in a video conferencing? How do you take the time to have a relationship as opposed to just getting down to business. When do you initiate activity? When do you wait for them to initiate activity? How many touches do we want to have with our clients each year? What kind of touches are there going to be? One of the things we did, we recently just released a new product which is about to come out in the QuickBooks world called MBA, which is white labeled, so it's your logos on it. And the idea was that it's the things that business owners are interested in knowing. How much do I have to pay in taxes year to date? What really do I want to be able to pay myself? How much revenue do I have to make? Do I have enough cash to? What's my true break even? What's my margin above break even for every 1,000 I sell over it? And we made it available on a cell phone or any smart device, a tablet, an iPad. It's about to be released on the App Center from Apple. It's available in Android world. And we charge $18.50 for it a month per company to you. And why? Well, I'm counting on the fact that if your clients use that kind of a tool, they're getting a couple hundred touches a year with you. They don't even know who we are. It's your logo on the brand. You have to understand how to build the elements that will define the brand. So once you've built the elements, now you create the components. The components are the actual things that you train the people on how to do them. You have to actually go about integrating the brand, because the brand is the reflection, the synopsized reflection of the experience with the company. So you have to create the components. You build the elements, then you create those components. If it means a different way of doing web broadcasting, if we have a different way of doing direct email, if it means we have to integrate collateral software technology tools, whatever it is, you have to make sure those components come into place. And then finally, you have to implement the changes in making that brand become what you want it to be, not what it has inadvertently become, because no one paid any attention to it. So what are these steps? How do you go about doing it? What I've tried to do is, from the years of working on this stuff, I have tried to share the timelines I think it takes to really build the brand. And so if obviously this is being recorded, if anyone would like the PowerPoint, just let us know. We'd be happy to email it to you if you send us an email. But I want to take a little time to talk about essentially how long we think it can take to do each of these steps. So I think building the mission, vision, value statement, this can take about 2 weeks. The way I like to do it is essentially through a brainstorming session where we take all the words or descriptions and so on that we feel our clients might find a value in us. And then what we do is we do weighting. And it's word weighting. It's a strategy that was built at the University of Minnesota School of Business in the marketing department over at Carlson School of Business. And essentially what it is you sit down with a group internally and you ask them, well, how would you define us? How would you believe what we are? And then you might get 20 or 30 words. And then you basically do a weighting where you start with the first word and you have everyone vote. What's more important, word phrase 1 or word phrase 2? And then you do that through all the next 20 of them. And then you go to the second word phrase and you say, what's more important, 2 against 3, 2 against 4, and so on. And you basically go through that. You do a total count at the end. And then you'll wind up with 3, 4, 5 key words. And those key words are a reflection of where you believe your value proposition is. So from that, since you know the key words that define what you're doing and what you want to have the client experience, I can build the mission. The mission is a statement of these key words. The vision is what the client experiences. You have to tell them what they will get out of doing business with you. Our mission is to so that the clients that we are privileged to work with will And we do this through integrity, fiduciary responsibility, all these things that go into your value statements. And this isn't something that happens fast. It takes about 2 weeks. It doesn't mean it takes everybody doing 40 hours a week for 2 weeks to do it. But the process of having a little breakout session, building this up, doing the weighting, taking the words, building the phrases, if somebody has ownership of it internally and you get the others to participate, it takes about 2 weeks to build that mission, vision, value statement. The next step is the elevator statement. Now again, the elevator statement is once I have the mission, vision, value statement, now I can create the elevator statement that defines what it is that I do or what it is that any employee does. And that takes about a week to build because the idea is it's a couple of paragraphs. You should be able to say it in about 15 to 30 seconds at the most. And the reason it takes a week is even after you're done building it, you have to make sure everybody memorizes it and learns it, or at least internalizes it so that they can say it in their own language. It's important that everybody in the company, everybody in the practice can have an elevator statement that relates to them within the mission, vision, value statement of what you do. It takes about a week. You've got to build a compelling story. How do you build a compelling story? Well, again, this is taking, without disclosing necessarily the client's name, creating a story about what you were able to do for them that reflects the mission, vision, value statement and provides evidence of the elevator statement. Now, the thing that's nice about this, if you create a couple of compelling stories and you just have everybody learn them, it doesn't have to be their own compelling story. It can be, you know, our firm is worked with business clients in such a way, let me share something that we're able to do. And so you create this compelling story where the situation, the opportunity, the decision, the action, and the results all become part of this compelling story. And believe me, these are the things that create relationships with your clients to help define and establish the brand. That takes about a week. Then finally, now we're only now at a point where we can literally design a logo, a color scheme, and a tagline. And I know how many of you out there are graphics designers. So the idea here is you're probably going to have to find someone who does this type of work in order to help build that. I think that's a 2 to 3 week process. You have to have these other things in place. I want to give the design firm the mission, vision, value statement, the compelling story, the elevator statement. I want to give them all those things so that they can create a logo and a color scheme and help build a tagline that is really reflective of this. But you do have to do that. Then you need to define the client experience on all of these. What do they live through? It's literally documenting what a client should walk through. We define our purpose, we define what we expect the client experience to be, we define the values that it is entailed in it, we've explained how lucky we are because of what we do in the elevator, we've decided we're going to be able to tell stories, we now have a logo, we now have a color scheme, and now we can say this is what our client will experience in working with us. It's literally walking and stepping through their eyes. I think that's a 2-day shot. You have a little session, you craft it together where it's just listing what it is, then the second day somebody puts it into a nicely written package. And now when I have all of these things, now I can finally start defining the advertising and the public relations effort and integrate them into our marketing plan. This is how we go about establishing the brand. Now this part takes about 4 weeks. Finally, we can implement the changes in the team and in the culture. And that takes about 3 months. So what am I basically saying? If we walk this back, and I'm going to go back and we'll count up the time here. So we've got 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. Let me go back up higher here. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 6.5 weeks, 10.5 weeks, and then integrating the change. Just think, we can have this all ready by tax season. And I'm really hoping this is something you'll commit to do. It's the reason I was running this session now in last quarter, because what I'm hopeful is that through these series of things that we're doing in the fact that cash is king, but money is everything, that you'll be able to start making these changes that will significantly impact the client experience with your clients coming up to tax season. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to change their beliefs about you or improve their beliefs about you instantly overnight. But believe me, you will hear comments, you will see things. This is what gives you competitive advantage, and this is what gives you strength in the marketplace. So in summary, you have to make your target audience believe in the value of what you have to offer. Secondly, beliefs are established through the discipline of branding, and it is a discipline. Finally, invest the time, effort, and energy and the capital you need to recreate your brand. We're done a little early today, but it was a lot of content in short periods of time. I really trust that this can make a difference for you. We're going to get kind of the last part of this finished next month, where I'm speaking again in December. And I hope you all have just an absolute fabulous holiday session through Thanksgiving. And that by the time I talk to all of you next, that you've at least done some of the things that are important here in establishing your brand. And I'm going to turn this back over to iShade now.
Thank you, Peter. We look forward to part 4. We will now be moving to iShade.com for our Q&A session. So you're going to go ahead and hold on, I think it is taking a second to show you guys my screen here. Well,
I know they still see me, but you're coming.
Yeah. Here, oh, I think it's starting to come up. Well, I'm having some technical difficulties here, but I will walk you guys through it. Basically, you're going to go to iShade.com, and then you're going to click on Ask the Expert in the navigation, and then you'll just scroll down and you'll see the Cash is King listing in the webinar listings. And from there, you're going to click into it, and then at the bottom of the page, you'll be able to submit your questions there. And thank you all for joining iShade today. We look forward to having you back for future webinars.
Excellent. Thanks so much.